Good morning, students. I am Bhavesh Atodaria. We have seen in last two videos about the chapter Deep Water from Flamingo book written by William Douglas. Today, I am going to sum up with the chapter and let us discuss in a brief with the small video of animation and then the key points of the chapter. Let us start. Deep Water by William Douglas. The story begins with the narrator recounting an incident that took place when he was 10 or 11 years old. The narrator had decided to learn swimming at the YMCA pool in Yakima. He was initially worried when he stepped into the YMCA pool since it stirred unpleasant memories. When he was about 3 or 4 years old, his father had taken him to a beach in California. The waves had knocked him over and he had been covered by water. This experience had filled him with a deep fear of water. The narrator felt this resurfacing fear at the YMCA pool. But over some days, he overcame the fear by observing and imitating the actions of the other boys who were swimming. One day, the narrator was sitting alone by the side of the pool, waiting for the others to turn up. He did not have the confidence to enter the pool alone. A huge boy of 18 came in, picked him up, and threw him into the deep end of the pool in sitting position. The narrator panicked as he sank into to the bottom of the pool, but he kept his wits about him. He decided to push himself up to the surface when his feet hit the bottom and then paddled to the edge of the pool. Unfortunately, he came up slowly. When he opened his eyes, he saw nothing but yellow water. He started to panic as he rose, especially when he could not get his face out of the water. As he sank slowly, as he sank slowly back down, he started to lose his breath and was suddenly stiff with fear. He reached the bottom and he jumped again, coming up slowly. He was overcome with terror again and froze. He almost came up but again went back under. Darkness surrounded him as he gave up the struggle to survive, exhausted. Death seemed to welcome him and he lost consciousness. The next thing he knew, he was lying beside the pool, vomiting the water he had swallowed. He had been pulled out of water just in time. This incident left him feeling vulnerable and helpless, and from that day he was terrified of water. As he grew older, this fear stayed with him and ruined his fishing trips. It prevented him from enjoying simple joys of life like canoeing, boating, and swimming. Finally, he decided to learn swimming from an instructor. He started practicing 5 days a week at a pool. First, he swam repeatedly up and down a pool with a belt that was attached to an overhead rope that the instructor held. He panicked every time he went under water, but this subsides over 3 months. The instructor then taught him to breathe and kick properly, and eventually he learned to swim without help. The narrator was overjoyed but wondered if he could swim alone without his instructor's support. he managed just fine. To curb his lingering doubts, he swam alone across Lake Wentworth and then across Lake Warm Lake, which he had visited before. He did experience his old fear once in Lake Wentworth but was able to ignore it. When he was able to swim across Warm Lake and back, he was ecstatic at having conquered his fear. The narrator ends the story by quoting Franklin D. Roosevelt's word, "All we have to fear is fear itself." His near death experience had only made him stronger. He finally felt liberated. So, student, we have seen a brief video of animation about deep water. In this deep water, William Douglas talks about his fear of water and how he finally overcomes it with strong willpower, courage, hard work, and firm determination. Now let's see general idea of the lesson. William O. Douglas has a desire to learn swimming since childhood. At the age of 3 or 4, he was knocked down and buried by a wave at a beach in California. He developed a great aversion to water. Aversion means strong dislike to something that you don't like at all, and a fear has been developed behind that. But as years passed, he thought again that let me go for swimming, and at the age of 10 or 11 he decided to learn swim with water wings at the YMCA pool since it was safe at the shallow end. Obviously pool has both the side deeper and shallow end, and he thought that let me learn swimming here, it will be better, and for that he joined it. The fear of water has always remained there in him, and whenever he tried to go, he always felt that it was haunting like anything. And one day, a misadventure happened. While sitting alone and waiting for others to come at the YMCA pool, a big boy came and threw Douglas into deep end of the water. Here, what had happened that we have seen Douglas swallowed water and went straight down to the bottom of the pool in sitting position. And in this position, we can't help ourselves suddenly and much. But his senses were strongly working. While going down, he planned to make a big jump upward but came up slowly. Tried to shout but could not. And as we have seen, he went down to the pool second time, he tried to jump upward, but it was a waste of energy only because his senses were working, but his body and mind, due to fear, they both could not manage the time as well as they could not help him with the with what he had decided. And because of this, what had happened? We have seen that terror held him deeper and deeper every time he went down. And during the third trial, he sucked water instead of air. Slowly, slowly, and gradually, he could not go that much up, and now he sucked water instead of air. Light was going out, and there was no more panic. He left all the things aside and thought, he accepted. He ceased all efforts and he became unconscious here. He thought he is going to die now. There is no worry in the world. There is everything useless, and now I am just going to die. He felt that he just crossed to oblivion. Oblivion means a state of mind where you have forgotten everything totally, not in the mind, and you live in another world, it seems like. But when revived, he found himself vomiting beside the pool as he was saved by the instructor and that boy again. That boy was scolded also, but he was making prank only. He had no any kind of intention to drown the narrator. He was in a great fear of water and it deprived him of the joys of canoeing, boating, swimming, fishing. Then he decided to hire an instructor to learn swimming because this way he could not live life every time whatever water adventure he wanted to make and he felt just fear. So he decided to hire a had a coach to learn swimming. The instructor taught him swimming piece by piece. Yes, as we have seen, he was tied with rope, one end was held by coach, and he was taught how to move in the water. Instructor taught him different types of strokes and said him how to move inside the water, outside the water, breathing, inhaling, exhaling, everything was taught to him. He went to different lakes to swim and found tiny vestiges of fear still gripped him. Tiny part inside his heart was still there to fear him, but he decided to challenge it, and that's why he decided to go for swimming in a big lake. He challenged the fear and swam across. Swimming up and down the warm lake, he finally overcame his fear of water. He realized that in death, there is a peace and there is a terror only in fear of death. Yes, he decided to learn well. He decided to hire a coach, and finally, he could succeed with that. The swimming taught him the life lesson. Somehow, he challenged his fear and he conquered the fear of it. And then he says, yes, the death, there is a death, and it is truth. You can't change the truth. The death will come. It is certain. But he realized there is a peace in that. But there is terror only in fear of death. The three statements that made us learn something better in life, that there is no substitute for hard work. Yes, for hard work you can't have any shortcut. For hard work you can't make someone to help you. It is your life, it is your fear, it is yours, and you have to conquer it. You have to win over it because somewhere you need to go ahead. So you need to work hard behind everything that you want to achieve. Second, just we have discussed, in death there is peace and there is terror only in the fear of death. Yes, it is one of the best part of the chapter that he has said about it. The death is always there, but terror of death, that makes much more panic to a human being. And finally, he ends by discussing Roosevelt's statement that all we have to fear is fear itself. What we have to fear? Fear itself. We need not to worry about anything, but we need to fear with fear. Otherwise, everything is fine if you get conquered on fear. If you get victory over the fear, you will have the best life to live. So, children, this was all about the third chapter, Deep Water, that we have gone through in last two videos. And now, this was all the sum up of the chapter. I hope you have understood it well. And if you have any queries, visit the school website, go to the queries, enter your queries, and it will be solved soon. Thank you. Stay home, stay safe.